It's always a pleasure to talk to you about your projects. This is quite fascinating to see a more spiritual, mystical side of comic books and superheroes. Was that the main appeal for you?
One of them, definitely. There was a resonance that struck with me because of a time I was fortunate enough to experience in my teens when I went to teach in a Tibetan Buddhist monastery and learned a lot more than I taught in that department, especially. So it was the beginning of my journey, sort of understanding that as a witness and then a participant, going on a retreat at the end to learn meditation, and that's something I've kept with me. But we all practiced it on this set, which was great. But I don't know, I mean, yes, that's a massive part of the film, and it's crazy to think that in a populist Marvel Cinematic Universe piece of entertainment, you've got such profundity. But then again, is it? I mean, that's what I think keeps audiences coming back for more. They're very good at doing that. They're very good at involving complex, rich, and interesting issues that reflect our reality or potential realities in this case. And opening our minds a little bit to discussions in amongst being witty and dark and, in this case, trippy and funny. And, you know, it's a great mix of things. So that, yes, but also the whole package. Yeah. And I think, you know, the character arc he goes on alone is an acting challenge, from, you know, that arrogant neurosurgeon to a much less selfish superhero. And everything that happens in between, just on a technical note, just to play an action hero who does that many fights and stunts and that much wire work was new to me. I'd done a bit, but nothing like this. It was me learning in conjunction with the character as well, which is all right for an origin story, so I better be good for the next films. But, you know, there was a lot, and all the complexities or differences about him or what it brings to the MCU, I kind of felt very secure about every new turn that Marvel has taken. I mean, even the original comics were a massive left turn. They were hugely popular, though. And Kevin and everybody that are the brains and real Sorcerer Supremes at the studio, they know what they're doing when they're doing that. So you feel very well taken care of.
And you were a great fit for it, and that's the main thing, because basically you bring that kind of intellectual quality to him, and there's also the physical training that I'm sure was a challenge for you. I mean, how much are we talking about?
Well, it was a challenge, but it was also one I relished. And, you know,
world
experts, wherever you look at it, whether it was to help with the obligatory diet or the press-ups and pull-ups and all that kind of stuff, but also yoga and flow yoga that Fran taught to facilitate the kind of nimbleness I needed and flexibility that I needed to do these fight moves, to perform these sort of very carefully choreographed stunts as well. And that was a challenge, but I mean, it's not one I haven't had before. It was just the volume of it, I guess, was different in this one. It was pretty non-stop. But I love that. I've made no bones about wanting to do that at some point. It's interesting, I don't really have characters or necessarily stories per se, but there are certain things in our craft that I've always wanted to try, and that's definitely one of them. So, yeah.
Was comic books ever a universe you explored when you were a teenager?
But more Tintin and Asterix and Obelix, all the sort of European ones, and then, you know, Viz in this country is quite a big thing for teenage boys, so, and grown men. But I enjoyed that in my time, and then I kind of came to comics more through films. I was more intrigued by, you know, we were obsessed at school with the Michael Keaton Batman and Tim Burton's vision of that, and we were, you know, bopping around and singing to the Prince soundtrack. And that was a big deal for us culturally when I was growing up. And then, the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the past 8 years, I've been buying my ticket and, you know, being in the audience and enjoying every ride I went on. So it's kind of through that. And this character's, you know, he's a lesser known, not lesser loved, because he's very, very loved by those who do know, character of the comic universe. And I wasn't aware of him, so when I got the call, I did some fast study, and he's as extraordinary in the books as he is hopefully on the big screen in our version.
And new and refreshing, and something that we've never seen before.
And literally brings other dimensions. So, you know, just when you thought that superhero frame was getting a little crowded, this frame itself has just got other dimensional and a lot bigger. So
exactly, and 3D and IMAX and all these things.
Yeah, if you can stump the ticket, I would definitely try and go and see it in 3D IMAX, because there is a beauty to some of the effects in this which I haven't seen in a film before, let alone in a Marvel film. So yeah, it's really worth the ride if you can. But I'm sure it works in whatever format
Absolutely. I remember being at the 12 Years a Slave premiere in Toronto, and Brad Pitt and everyone else had already arrived, and all of a sudden I hear those screams when you arrived. It was just, you know, just a testimony to the fact that fans have been screaming for you for many years. Is it more now with this?
There's a sort of decibel level that's sort of it's impossible to kind of register beyond, and I've already heard that level. I can't imagine it getting any louder, but look, I hope those fans enjoy what I've done, and I hope fans of Marvel films enjoy this, and maybe, you know, a few people who haven't even seen my work but are just interested in the subject matter or thinking they want to see something different, even if they're not into Marvel and they haven't seen a Marvel film before. I think this has something for all of those people. So yeah, I do hope it it gets out there.
Those decibels, like the Beatles, it's really fun. do you see an acting career as a path? Is it always a learning curve for you? Any project is something that is completely different in terms of your own personal experience?
Yes, and I mean, you know, I think that's why I'm always a bit defensive when people see similarities between characters, which of course people do, and everyone loves a narrative in life. It makes sense of chaos, and I think obviously as well, not being too defensive, there are similarities, but I do try and search out for differences. You know, this is the first time I played a New York hero of any sort, first superhero obviously. The level of physical involvement in this role is a big step up from me. It's a big movie as well. It's a big career move, but at the same time, I can't think about that when I'm doing my acting, when I'm just focusing on the craft of what I do day to day, and that's where I get my real kicks from. And more and more, it's as much about, I should say, who I'm working with as it is what I'm doing and what character I'm playing. And fortunately, this cast was utterly inspiring. So, you know, the tennis matches alone in this were kind of soul food. The riot of all the physical stuff was fantastic. And yeah, this really complex character and this new sort of language of cinema and new language from Marvel all of that was intoxicating. So yeah, the next thing I look for is something that has a similar level of surprise and challenge. And yeah, we're very lucky on many levels in our profession, but one of the things I treasure most, I guess, is this idea that you can just keep learning, you can keep trying to do different things. It's fun.